Okay, as you all know from the title, and if you watch any more content on my channel, I am a big Arcane fan, a massive Arcane fan. All I think about every day is Arcane now. Like really, truly, I'm a massive Arcane fan. I love the music. I love everything about it. Now, because of that, I've been recently on a journey of I've been watching a lot of League of Legends stuff, a lot of the lore, everything like that. And so in the comments I've heard a lot, like I've got a lot of suggestions, and I've been doing some stuff. This video is a suggestion, or not this specific video, but this channel, this guy, his name is Necrit, you probably know him, like if you're watching this video, but I've seen it so many times. Necrit, what Necrit, yo, he's got so much lore videos. If you really want to know about it, Necrit, and so I'm here. You know how perfect it is, he released a video literally as of speaking, let me get it up for you, 4 hours ago. It literally just said 3 hours ago, by the way. It was just 3 hours ago. It was just I just clicked on it. So it was 3 hours ago. But now it's saying 4 hours ago. But the point is, it's just been released. So I'm here. I'm trying to I wanna know all about the league law, so let's just get straight into the news.
Have you finished watching Arcane? You got interested in the universe and you realized I have no idea where to learn more about it? Well, you
wouldn't. I guess what this video is, but he's talking about me, guys. It's me, and maybe some of you as well. But this video is perfect for me.
You are part of the 90% of Arcane enjoyers who got into the same situation.
Oh,
it doesn't even matter if you play League or not. The fact is, about 95% of all League players still have no idea what the lore is about.
I never played League once in my life. Should I play League? Should I play League? Like, should I play League? The fact that 90%, like a lot of people that play League don't even know about the lore of League means, like, I'm a massive fan of its lore at this current moment, and Arcane especially, but like, should I play the game itself? I don't know.
And that's because it requires a very niche
skill
skill to be utilized. Reading. Besides this, the truth is, without knowing what this universe is about, there's gonna be a lot of people who will miss out on really cool moments should Riot announce some new projects. Because if they say, hey, the new show is gonna be in Ionia and it will focus on X, Y, and Z, well, the people who know the stories will freak out, but the rest will just say, we're just happy there is something happening after Arcane. So, why don't we fix that in today's video? And in case you are just a casual Arcane enjoyer, why don't we dive into what this universe can offer? Which also includes some very specific storylines that might pop up in some future shows. So, for the most part, if you wanna learn about League's lore, there is one place that still has most of the lore, and that would be the League of Legends Universe website. Besides 99% of all lore being written here, which also includes the newly updated bios which are now in line with Arcane, it also has the interactive map, which is probably the most fun way to explore this universe. But speaking of Arcane and updating stories, this is also where we should mention that should Riot pump out new stories through shows or movies that are based on this universe, just keep in mind that some specific stories might get changed, because even Arcane rewrote a lot of
I just want to say, currently, with the limited knowledge I've learned, it's been quite a few hours now. My favourite place, Ionia, Bilgewater, Noxus, and Freljord. But no, I'll tell you very superficial reasons though. Mainly because I like my samurai ninja and Japanese. I'm an anime fan, so that's why I don't really, you don't know it. Noxus is just cool. You know what? That's not even a super. It's somewhat. It's just. It's just. Bro, war. Shit, these man, the energy that they're on. Oh, I love it. It's just. Yo. We don't care who you are. We don't give a who you are. We're gonna step on your door. We're gonna take you. We're gonna take it from. It's ours. Just that violence that they're on. I love it. Obviously, we say no to violence. But I love that energy. They're like the real Vikings, even though the Vikings are up here. And that's another superficial reason, like Ionia, where I just like Vikings. And Bilgewater, again, it's the pirate aesthetic. So, my favourite character is that bald guy so far. And the villain guy. He like done some shadow magic and he had like a whole arc.
Specific stories might get changed, because even ARCANE rewrote a lot of canon lore that was previously set in stone. However, it seems like going forward, Riot might be dealing with stories that are going into the future, because it's possible that they learned the lesson that retconning pressure stories is not the best move, and so I do believe that retconning will be a bit less common now. But still, because retcons can absolutely be a thing, today we are not gonna be exploring specific stories of specific champions in too much detail. But instead, we're gonna be diving into the overall world and the regions with their specific stories that make the regions unique. I mean, the point of this video is that after you watch it, you should be able to say, yeah, I have a vague idea of what the lore is about. And so, behold, the world of League of Legends called Runeterra. At first glance, you might think, it's not that big. But then you may notice that, yes, we can actually zoom in. And immediately you'll start noticing some places you might recognize from ARCANE. First of all, yes, Piltover and Zaun are right there in the middle of the map. And north of it, you might arrive at the Immortal Bastion. What is that, you might ask? Well, that is the capital city of Noxus, the nation Ambassa is from. Yes, a very important thing to point out is that in this universe, everything is linked. The lore is simply massive and complex. So as we go through these regions, I'll try to connect the references to ARCANE so you know roughly what we're talking about. So for now, let's zoom out for a second and let's have a look at the world. Here you may notice that the world shown here is split into 3 big continents. There is Valoran, which is the entire northern part. There is Shurima, which is the entire southern part. And yes, Shurima is both the name for the continent and the empire that was on the continent. And there is also Ionia, an entire separate continent too. But somewhere in the east, there is also Camavor, which is not shown on this map. But we know it exists because it was shown in the Ruination book. Now on these continents, of course, there are a lot of different nations and regions and a lot of different stories.
I have heard, okay, so I don't remember some of these, but I feel like I did hear, like, I can't specifically remember Ixtal, but like, I feel like I did see Antagon. The one he just said, the one that is in the Ruination book, never heard of that.
But again, for the purpose of this video, just to show you what this universe is about, let's focus on the biggest stories that shape these regions. And since we already mentioned Ambassa being from Noxus, let's dive there. From ARCANE, you might have gotten the idea that Noxians are strong and evil, which technically is true to a degree. You see, the Noxian Empire originally started as a tribe. Many years ago, before Valoran even got its name, and it was still simply called the Northern Wildlands, there was this one guy who was called Sun Uzal, who became a warlord of these tribes. Now, this warlord believed that should he die, he would be taken into the Halls of Bones, which was believed to be a sort of an afterlife, where the souls of the greatest warriors would feast for all eternity with the gods of the afterlife. And simply
it's Valhalla. That sounds like Valhalla to me.
That the more you killed and conquered, the more glorious you would be in the eyes of the gods. And so his entire life, Sun Uzal did but one thing: kill and conquer for the glory of the gods. Now eventually Sun Uzal died, but instead of being taken into the Halls of Bones, he was taken into a grey wasteland, where he found nothing but a few mindless ghosts. This is when he realized there were no Halls of Bones and there were no gods of the afterlife, which is something he refused to accept. He refused to believe that he did all the conquering for nothing. And so, being quite literally too angry to die, Sun Uzal refused to fade away. Yes, this is directly part of his story. And so, Sun Uzal stayed in this empty wasteland and he just decided to become the god of death. So he learned the language of the dead. He whispered into the world outside. And he found a few cultists who actually managed to resurrect him. And from that point on, San Uzal, in the language of the dead, was now known as Mordekaiser. And so Mordekaiser's second reign began,
Oof.
though now...
That's a cool ass name. Mordekaiser. It's like Mordecai. What? Mordekaiser. That is cool as... Bro, that is like imagine, bro, that's a scary ass name. He looks like a Mordecai. Bro, look at it. He looks like a Mordekaiser. I don't want to fuck with him. Not at all.
Now he was an undead warlord. So now he built the Immortal Bastion, which became the capital city of the Noxian Empire. And slowly, his conquest of the world became so unstoppable that the entire rest of the continent had to band together to take him down. And
you know, that is just... I respect man like this. Like, that is too... I thought about that, and then I said that, and now I realised that's actually kind of bad, because that's... I take back what I said. I don't respect man like that. That is terrible, disgusting things. You shouldn't do that. But I respect that he had the personal strength to do it, not because he was anything else. Moving on.
And eventually they were successful with the help of a betrayal that happened from within Mordekaiser's closest ring. Of course, now we know that this betrayal happened from LeBlanc, who...
Bro. It's always... I'm about to get... Don't tell me it's just... I ain't gonna say it. It was that thing. The one thing that can bring the most powerful and the most weak men down at the same rate. Bro, look. Ain't no way. She whispered it in his ear. She went, he's trying to get some. He said, yeah. And then she betrayed him. No.
Was Mordekaiser's advisor. And so technically it was the Black Rose who bound Mordekaiser's soul to his armor, and now he was banished back in his realm underneath Noxus. However, while he was conquering, every soul Mordekaiser killed was now back down there in his Grey Realm. That's what Mordekaiser decided to call his own afterlife. And so now in the Grey Realm with him, he had a whole new undead army. Now, most people don't know about this, but the Black Rose does. And so now, every time the Black Rose does something evil, it is most likely because they are trying to acquire power to stop Mordekaiser from coming back. Now, without...
Wait, the Black Rose are trying to do something good? Because now that... Aren't the Black Rose the man, like the people, like in Arcane Season 2, with Mbessa, like the ones that... I think killed Mbessa's son, Mel's brother, the one that captured Mel and then pretty much killed Mbessa, and so they were evil. And that girl and the vamp, like the two voices, them man, the one, yeah, like those were the Black Thorns, weren't they? And they murdered Mel's advisor person, the girl's secretary. I'm not sure what she was, but so they have a good reason for acquiring power, but they, you know, like they're trying to stop a world-ending threat, but not trying to, you know. Interesting.
But the Mordekaiser are now ruling over the continent. A new empire rose around the Immortal Bastion. And of course, that empire became the Noxus we know now. So yes, the Noxians do have quite a bit of evil DNA in their blood. However, the reason why Noxians are all about war is totally different. Because you see, during his conquest, Mordekaiser turned the surrounding lands into a complete wasteland. And of course, the other cataclysmic events that also happened didn't help. So Noxus doesn't really have a lot of natural resources.
No agriculture.
Growing crops is really difficult, and it's hard to find any kind of green land anywhere. So what the Noxians do to survive is simply conquering the surrounding nations for resources. That is why Noxians are so aggressive. They are evil for survival. In fact, a really famous Noxian motto is, kill them until they are family. So now, if you go to the map of Runeterra, this is why the Noxian territory is so widespread. It is because they conquered a piece of the Freljord. They claimed bits of Shuriman territory. And yes, they even ripped out a piece of Ionia. What's also cool is that even in Arcane, Ambassa mentioned that she fought battles from the Bloodcliffs to the Dalamor Plains, with Bloodcliffs being found here in the east and the Dalamor Plains in northwest. Now, as I mentioned, Noxians also claimed a piece of Ionia. And it just so happens to be that this is a crucial point in Noxian history, while at the same time being something that ties us into the next region we can talk about. Ionia.
That's across this.
So, if you...
I'm just gonna say, losing like that is... Okay, so... These man have to catch a boat to get to you, man. How do you lot lose a piece of your land? And how have you still kept... How is that land still not yours? Obviously, in real world history, shit like that happened. But in this history, these man Ionians are meant to be... Aren't you meant to be like superhumans? Like, I know these men are also superhumans, but you lot are superhumans as well. Like, why you man not like? God, come on, man, get your lands back.
If you've seen anything remotely Asian in Arcane, it is likely based on Ionia. This even includes the portraits in House Kiraman. The ancestor huntress is likely in Ionia there. Anyway, we are still not sure if the storyline we are talking about happened before Arcane or if it is gonna happen after Arcane is over. But a really important thing for both the history of Noxus and Ionia is the Noxian invasion of Ionia. Essentially, in the modern days, Noxus was ruled by Borem Darkwill. I know, the name is foreshadowing that was not a great dude. Anyway, Borem Darkwill was a grand general who got manipulated into being a madman by LeBlanc. LeBlanc told him that somewhere in Ionia there could be an object that could
be a madman
make him immortal, which is something Darkwill liked very much. And so, that's why Noxus invaded Ionia. At least in Darkwill's eyes, they were doing this for his own immortality. In reality, LeBlanc just wanted to gain more power from those artifacts there. However, because we are talking about a madman invading a whole nation, of course there were no rules in this war. And so the Noxians used massive chemical bombs. They used children as warriors in the front lines, with the sole purpose of hoping that Ionians wouldn't fight back children. And they used many spies and propaganda to tell Ionians that Noxus are actually the good guys. And for a while, this worked, and the Noxian War was brutal. But Ionians had a few secret weapons of their own. First of all, Ionia is a land of peace and unity with the spirit of nature. We are talking about a place where people don't even build their own houses. They just ask the trees to shape themselves into a house. So what happened when chemical nukes were dropped here? Well, you anger the spirits. And now, the land itself was killing mortals left and right. It didn't even matter if you're a Noxian or Ionian. The spirits were angry and every mortal was an enemy. Damn. And so, of course, a lot of Ionians didn't like this. They didn't appreciate the rivers forming into monsters and drowning them, or the trees just strangling them in their sleep. And so they decided, you know what? Maybe peace is not the right option. Maybe fighting is the correct way to protect the land. And so there was a bit of division in Ionia, where half of the people were still about peace and harmony, but the others were just done with waiting around and they were ready to fight. A few years later, this invasion finally stops the moment this rebellion, led by Irelia, ends it all by cutting off the hand of one of the more powerful generals of Noxus, that being Swain. After which, the Noxians were defeated at the Placidium of Navori. The Noxians then slowly retreat back to the shores, and that's why these days the Noxians control some of these territories. Of course, Ionia itself is full of dark stories related to the invasion. For example, there is a young Noxian warrior known as Riven, who is given a powerful blade, then she flees from the war, she accidentally kills a wind technique master, after which everyone believes that this was done by his pupil Yasuo, and from that point on there is an awesome story arc of Yasuo fleeing all of his comrades who believe he is a murderer. The invasion is also related to another mass murderer known as Jin, who was being tracked down by ninja detectives, including Zed and Shen. And overall, there was a lot of different stories with a lot of furry races.
I was
some
literally
of which
about
also
to
appear in Arcane.
This is where
those animalistic people are known as Vastaya. They technically originate from the east, and they are now all over this universe. Speaking of which, on the other...
I was literally going to say, yeah, are you on this place with all the fairies and...
other side of this continent, there is another region that is heavily tied to Noxus as well. And that, of course, is Demacia. On one side, Demacians can be seen as the good guys of this universe. But nothing here is really one-sided. Demacia is known for mostly having pale buildings, weapons and armor. And of course, all of that is rooted in some deep lore. Many years ago, there was an incident that was also called out in Arcane. That being
the Rune Wars.
The Rune Wars.
I read it on
essentially, once up in Arcane.
It says it right here, Rune War. I was paying attention.
That being the Rune War.
When I was talking about one of my favorite characters earlier, it was this guy. This guy's... But you cannot tell me that this guy... Bro, it's the Avatar. It's the Avatar. This is Aang. If Aang got to live... That's the same point. If you haven't watched Avatar, that might have been a little bit of a spoiler. But... Yeah, sorry. I was about to say... actually, it's not... But... It is. So, yeah, apologies. But this guy...
Wars.
Go.
Essentially, once upon a time, there was a mischievous celestial who decided to spread powerful runes around this world. For a very long time, these runes stayed hidden, but then an event known as the Darkin Wars happened. The world was turned inside out, and now the mortals started discovering these runes. They realized they are very powerful and that they can be used as magical nukes. And now, every city that held one of these runes essentially had access to nukes. And yes, this led into a magical warfare simply known as the Rune Wars. And well, around Demacia, we could find a really interesting forest. It was full of white trees that had a very special ability. They could absorb magic. So while
this trailer I watched, so this man, this is why I think this guy's the GOAT. You might think he's in the way one, so let me just move that. This man over here, he goes and picks up like in that trailer, he goes and just picks up like one of the runes or whatever, and then at the end of the trailer he gets the rune and then he puts it back into a room, and I think it's in the tree or somewhere near, so whatever, and he walks away from it and he's talking about like how he's got all this power, and it's like can he even trust himself, and he walks away from it, and then all you see is it zooms out like he's off the camera and it's a room full of all of it, like loads of them runes. This man has been hunting down the runes and just placing them. This man is the GOAT, bro. The GOAT. like bro, that's some MC type shit. Like this is the main character right here. Like that is crazy to me. But yeah,
war was happening. The people who fled this war fled into this forest. And here they started a new anti-magic nation called Demacia. Here, by cutting down the trees and mixing them with a bit of ash and lime, the Demacians created petricite, a material that could be used for anything, be it buildings, in a building like weapons, or armor. And it would always give them the same magic absorbing ability. So now you can see that if you are a mage in Demacia, life kinda sucks because everything around you is absorbing your life essence. And in fact, that's the main point of Demacia. Because this place was founded as a heavily anti-magic place, there are a lot of places, especially in the smaller towns.
Doesn't this building look like, in Elden Ring, the Lane this building looks like Lanedale, like near the top of Lanedale, just before you get to the main boss of the royal city of Lanedale, and then you have to go up the tree and you climb up the tree. Like you both know, you know what I mean, you know, you have to climb up the tree to get up there.
Where people like mages.
But it's gold.
They like that some of the mages can make crops grow, and others can just make lives easier. But especially around the capital city, the hatred towards mages is still going strong. So naturally, it didn't take long and there was a civil war, which was all about racism against people who could use magic. In fact, inside the capital, there was even a prison that had some really awful torturing methods that was supposed to cleanse you from magic. Yes, they would make mages drink a petricide potion, which usually killed them. Now, the center point of this story is Laxana Crownguard, a member of a royal house and the sister to one of the highest placed commanders, who was secretly also a mage. But she is not the only point of hypocrisy here. For example, Jarvan IV, who is now becoming the new king of Demacia, also fell in love with a half-dragon woman known as Shyvana, who technically is a magical being. Something that a lot of people hunt here. So yes, Demacia is all about anti-magic tools, while hunting witches and mages. But in the recent days, the hatred kinda slowed down as the rebellion was pushed back. In fact, you can find most of this in the Mage Seeker game. But what's interesting is that Demacia also has its roots in a totally different region. I told you everything is connected. You see, this entire place is tied to Mount Targon. So let's talk about that one next.
Oh, the man linked up.
Mount Targon is a very unique place. It is a mountain that was literally ripped up by the celestial gods. That's why if you decide to climb the mountain, you will see stuff like lakes just frozen on the side of the mountain as it was being pulled up. In fact, climbing the mountain is a challenge a lot of mortals took upon themselves, because people notice that the peak of this mountain is directly linked to the celestial realms, almost as if the peak was a portal. So should a mortal reach the peak of Mount Targon, and should they be deemed worthy, they would be given the chance to become a host to a celestial aspect. These aspect hosts are essentially demigods. They are people who got infused with the power of celestial aspects.
So, how powerful are we talking? Like, are we talking like, when you say demigods, like, are we talking like Greek god demigod, like Greek mythology demigod level, like strength, like where these men are out here bodying literal gods, and like demons, like these men are like out here with godly powers themselves, as in like they ain't just fighting like, you know, demigod rank shit. They're pretty much god rank, like you know, like some, you know, or are they like they don't know that, like don't tell me these men are not the most powerful people in the world, because like if I'm seeing, if Avatar, my friend Avatar, Baldy from earlier, that's collecting the runes, if he is more powerful than these men, then what are you doing? What am you doing? Like, you might as well just, you know, like, come on. And who is that guy anyways? I really need to learn more about him, because like I do he's giving me MC energy, but like I don't even know who the MC, or I assume League doesn't have an MC, like I don't assume he has a main character, but like I assume there's more, obviously I assume there's more main-ish characters. Who am I pointing at as in to be who? So in Demacia it's that blonde girl and her brother. In what Ionia is that person that rebels, I assume is one of them. In Arcane, or well, Piltover and Zon, it's gonna be Vi, Jinx. I assume it's Vi and Jinx, and then an Echo, and like and then maybe Jace, like those lot. You know my point. That's my point.
And in fact, after becoming a host, to a lesser or greater degree, depending on what aspect we are talking.
And also, obviously, I watch Arcane. No one's this powerful. Like, no one. I'd only say the only person who I'm saying is like, yo, they're powerful, is Victor. Like, I mean Victor, endgame Victor, like episode 9 Victor, as in Victor with prep time. Victor with 100 people that he can go and, you know, Victor with an army, Like, and I wouldn't even say Victor by himself is that powerful. Like, he seemed he's powerful, but like, really and truly, that's, you know, like just give him a massive army, like, and then that's the reason why he's like that. Like Echo, obviously Echo with his time travel powers, Loki able, he trumped that guy. Like, obviously, he caught him like slacking, he caught him unaware, but still, you know what I'm saying? Like, still.
About, these gods can entirely take over the hosts. For example, when the Rakoran warrior Pantheon climbed the mountain, his body got entirely dominated by the celestial aspect known as war. Of course, we also know that there is the aspect of the sun, the aspect of the moon, the aspect of the twilight, or even the aspect of the protector. Now, tying everything back together once again, there is also the aspect of justice, which was a woman who gave birth to twin daughters, which together with their father fled to a safe region which would be far away from any kind of celestial fire. And so, of course, they fled to Demacia, the anti-magic region. And there, these twin daughters later inherited their mother's power, and they became the twin aspects of justice. This was way at the beginning when Demacia was still getting the hang of their magical racism. So having two magical gods among them, fighting each other, didn't help. And yes, of course, I'm talking about Gale and Morgana, who were there during the first foundations of Demacia. So, that's why Demacia is connected to the mountain. Not to mention that when criminals betray the country, Demacians can sentence them to bearing the crown of stone, which is a fancy name to sending them to Mount Targon and making them ascend the mountain, where most of them just flee, but some of them die. And that's the point. Demacians just get rid of the awful people by sending them to the mountain. Also, there is one more thing that happened on this mountain, where the locals figured out how to forge celestial metals, and they crafted a giant crown for a celestial god. It was supposed to be a gift, which the god took, but then it turned out to be a trick. The crown allowed the mortals to enslave the god. But that is a story for another day. Instead...
What? These men tried to enslave a god. That is so blasphemous. Oh, what kind of evil, sick? Why would you even do that? Like, why? And also, if it worked, then these men cannot be that great. I'm just saying, God, like, oh, we shouldn't be able to do that to God. Like, so that's just bull. That's just a whole lot of bullshit. Like, nah.
Interestingly enough, Mount Targon is also important for another region, Shurima. Shurima is the big desert with the massive floating sun disk in the middle, which used to be home to an empire that had the power to conquer the world.
Egypt.
But as every empire in the history of ever, they too crumbled after a betrayal from within. Anyway, during their peak, the empire was led by an emperor, with perhaps the most influential emperor in history being Azir, who helped Shurima being known for one big thing: conquering everything using a golden army of god warriors. Essentially, the big sun disk in the middle of the empire had a purpose. You remember Targonians crafting a big crown from celestial metals? Yes, that same technology was also...
Did these men why didn't they build Captain America's shield in the sky? Oh.
Used to build the sun disk. So now the sun disk had the ability to reflect celestial magic into mortal beings. And by doing this, they would be transformed or ascended into somewhat animalistic, really powerful warriors. In the Empire, these were known as the Ascended, or the God Warriors. For a very long time, with these God Warriors, the Shuriman Empire could go wild around the entire continent. But that was until the Emperor got backstabbed. The Golden Armies then lost their leadership and the Sun Disk crumbled. Now, slightly crazy and confused, the God Warriors were twisted into the power-hungry Darkin. Of course, if you remember Demacia, you might remember I mentioned that the Darkin later have a war. That's how the runes got discovered, and that's how the rune wars happened. Yep, as I mentioned, everything is connected. Anyway, very long time passed, and through a chain of coincidences, a descendant of Emperor Azir's bloodline entered his tomb and managed to resurrect him. With that, the sun disk grows as well, and now these days, the Empire is kinda resurrected. Or at least, the capital city is back up in shape. And what happens after that, we still don't know. Now, right next to this desert, there's also another interesting...
So you're saying that his descendant, after all this time, obviously happens to, it's normal, things that happen in shows where obviously coincidence. It's a nice coincidence. Anyway, it happens. She comes back. The whole place has now been resurrected. The king with it, but only the city, only the big city, the main city, the capital. And so right now, these men, they probably don't. I assume there's no more god warriors, but they have the ability to still do the god warriors. But we don't know because it hasn't been said, has it? But the city's back and he's back, which means But is no one there? Because if who's there then? Is it, if I assume everyone died, and he's the only one that's being resurrected, or has it been a little bit of time since then? And so now there's a bit. I want to know what's happened.
Thing to point out. There is a place that is entirely destroyed by the void. Very long story short, the void is essentially the opposite of reality. Instead of something, it is nothing. It is a dark realm that is being occupied by entities known as the Watchers. These are just beings that really hate reality because reality is like a light that keeps waking them up from deep slumber. So all they want to do is just turn off that light, which unfortunately means they want to destroy the world. And well, it turns out that while the Shuriman Empire was conquering the world, they also wanted to conquer a nearby kingdom known as Icathia. The moment the God Warrior armies marched upon them, the Icathians knew they were screwed, and so they decided to use magic. But not just any kind of magic. They wanted to summon the glorious power of the Void. Now, of course, they didn't know that by doing this, the Void would just annihilate everything. And so when they did that, they technically won the war, but they also annihilated an entire piece of this planet. And this is why Icathia is just a piece of void-annihilated wasteland. Now, after the Void consumed a big piece of land, the place right next to it started being worried. Of course, I'm talking about the region known as Ishtal. Ishtal is just...
Imagine being dead, man, sweating. Please, please, please. Come on, please, please. Someone, get that shit, bro. Someone, bro. Avatar, please. Someone, please. When we needed you most, come on, please. Don't let us be sucked up in there, please.
Just full of elemental mages. Air, water, earth, fire, they got it all.
I knew this. Oh my, what are the chances? What did I say? When we needed him most, he weren't there. These men are the ones that needed him. Does that mean Baldy is from this place?
And in self-defense, they got worried that the Void would slowly consume the entire world. And so, Ishtal decided to raise massive walls of plants around the entire region to isolate themselves from the rest of the world. In fact, they got so isolated, many people believed that the outside world was just destroyed and that there was nothing. Specifically, they believed that the moment they walked beyond the wall of plants, they would just suffocate because there was no air. But a long time after that, they realized the outside world was fine. And these days, the leadership of Ishtal is trying to figure out, how do they let people know? That's where Kiana's story kicks in, where she just ventures outside of the walls, and she's noticing that Piltovans keep coming down to south, and they're just destroying their land for resources. Yep, that's why we saw the Ishtali logo in Arcane, even though Ishtal is supposed to be isolated and hidden. People are still aware of the jungles around, at the very least. In fact, outside of Ishtal, those surrounding jungles are mostly unexplored. And that's because, simply said, they are very dangerous. The Noxians tried to conquer these jungles and failed, and that could be partially because this is also where we can find Zyra, a really creepy plant that keeps killing anything that lives. And yes, also somewhere below these jungles there is also a void rift, so you know what, maybe the Ishtali isolation was justified. But that kinda ends all the ties to the southern continent, so now we have to jump all the way back to the north, where we can find the Freljord. The Freljord is simple. It is a frozen wasteland where everyone is fighting for survival. It is a brutal land where very often you will find people worshipping the demigods, such as Ornn, Volibear, Anivia, the Iron Boar, stuff like that. With these demigods essentially...
This one looks cool. This one's the coolest. I was literally going to go back, but he even went back for me. This one looks dope, I ain't gonna lie.
Gaining power, the more people worship them. Now outside of this entire region is shaped by a single story. Very long time ago, this entire place was ruled by 3...
Wait, what? Does this not remind you of something? Like, okay, I don't know what it is, but a place with... that's like One Piece. One Piece, don't matter, I realise what it is. It's not Marineford, not Impel Down. The other place, the first marine base, not Skype. What's the arc after? Water 7. The one in Water 7, and they go to it. The first one, the one where they...
sisters, Avarosa, Sorilda, and Lysandra. As these three were building their armies, Lysandra got in touch with the Watchers. Yes, the beings that are inside the void.
Why would she do
Through
that?
their whispers, the Watchers kinda made Lysandra believe that they would make them all immortal if they just let them into their world. Which, to be fair, yes, the Watchers did that, and that's why in Freljord there is now a race known as the Iceborn. The Iceborn are technically void-touched people, but that is heavily oversimplifying it. Regardless, Lysandra believed the Watchers, cool. And she actually managed to prepare the Freljord for their arrival. And so, after a while, the Watchers actually arrived, and they looked not how Lysandra imagined them. Yes, she immediately realized that these beings are not here to help anyone. And so, Lysandra had to do the ultimate sacrifice. She had to melt all the Iceborn to freeze the Watchers. Yes, she sacrificed everyone who was in their nation to stop the end of the world. And in fact, that is what she's doing these days. To this day, the Watchers are still frozen beneath the Freljord. And she is constantly trying to figure out how to keep them frozen. She is even walking around Freljord to find the Iceborn so she can freeze them and make them fall asleep, so she can then feed their dreams to the Watchers so that the Watchers stay asleep. Honestly, the lore of the Freljord is nuts. But for the purpose of just knowing what's happening here, yeah, it's barbarians in a frozen wasteland. Which then takes us to 3 more regions which we can go quickly through. First of all, below Ionia, you will also find Bilgewater. This is your pirate place,
I look forward to
where pirate stories happen. Mostly we are talking about the Pirate King Gangplank, who was taken down by Captain Fortune, and now you have a bunch of pirate gangs who are...
This is my favorite. This is, I forgot to do, this is one of my favorite characters. We like this.
Fighting for leadership over Bilgewater. Of course, besides that, you also have a bunch of stories with sea monsters. There are also the Buru, who believe in the god Nagake Boros. A god of motion who makes sure that everyone stays in motion.
I think I said the name wrong, but I feel like that it sounded like something someone would chant. Release the Kraken. Release the Kraken.
So if you're not doing anything with your life, the god believes you should just die and you're wasting energy. Now, of course, Bilgewater is constantly fighting the undead who keep arriving here from the Shadow Isles. Now, the Shadow Isles actually have a lot of lore behind them. They used to be the Blessed Isles, and there used to be quite a lot of really powerful mages who came from this place. But very long story short, in fact, a story that is the longest out of anything that happened in this universe. There was a king who came here from another region who really desperately wanted to resurrect his rotting queen. And everything failed, the Blessed Isles blew up, they were turned into Shadow Isles. And now, everything here is undead. It's not just random undead though. Again, there is deep reason why everyone is...
This guy's the one I was talking about. He's the one. I like this. First of all, I thought his design was pretty cool. And I think he had a different design earlier in the games. Or like, cause I remember seeing someone, and I think it's the same character. They redesigned him, maybe retconned him. I'm not sure, but yeah. And is it Runation's all about him? Something's about it, where he's the main like antagonist, but cool ass dude, bro. As in design, not probably as a guy. And it's all about his love. Wait, is this the kid from? Oh, is this the guy that bombed the Blessed Isles?
Is undead. There is really deep magic that's happening here, but you know
what? Trying to revive his
all
girl.
of that is
he's trying to revive his
to
girl.
the last region, Camavor, which you can't find on this map. Yes, Camavor is an entire continent that was explored in the Ruination book. We still can't find it on the interactive map, but we know it is real. This is where Viego comes from. That's the king who tried to resurrect his queen, who is wielding a powerful blade that is all about consuming souls and kinda turning people undead under the very wrong circumstances. And in fact, Camavor is just a region full of dragons, mythical beings, and holy lands with paladins and stuff like that, but that sounds like a DLC for the MMO or something like that. And in a nutshell, that's really what this universe is about. A lot of conflicts, a lot of wars, a couple of invasions,
a few,
and yeah, just bloodshed everywhere. And yeah, we didn't even talk about Piltover and Zaun, because that alone was covered in Arcane. And guess what happened there? An invasion and more bloodshed. And who was invading? Of course, Noxus once again. In fact, Noxus now has a whole new story that's happening in League of Legends, and so going forward, yeah, whatever happens after Arcane will likely be related to Noxus. But now you can say, hey, I have a very vague idea of what this universe is about. So now we can all agree that if Riot announces anything connected to Mordekaiser, everyone is gonna freak out.
Mordekaiser! Mordekaiser! He knows what he's doing with this. Where's Arcane going next? Oof, should I watch that? Where's Arcane going next? Because I want to know. This guy's smart though. He's smart. He's strong. I like him. I like that. But yeah, I think the world is so cool. The map, like, come on, man. I need a shot of the map. Come on. Come on. Come on. So, I'm pretty sure, is it Demacia, Ionia and Noxus? Yeah, that, I think it was announced that them three are the ones being made. I feel like that's not surprising. I feel like because they seem like the more like, and they were the ones closest to Piltover, and they seem to be like where the crux of the human, like they seem like the most normal places. I know it's kind of weird to say when one's a, maybe not Ionia, but Demacia and Noxus and Piltover / Zaun, they're not, none of them are normal places, but you like compare it to flipping the Shadow Isles or the Void or the flipping that mountain or whatever. Like those are so much more like Demacia is just a bunch of knights who don't like magic, so you see some magic, but it's mainly like you'll probably find them, you know, the main girl will be the main character or whatever, one of the main characters, and it'll mainly just be like fuck the flipping what's it called, the mages, and it'll mainly be sword fighting and shit like that. Noxus again seems like a very, like, you know, they're just what about the you know, E for everyone. I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking. Like they don't seem as unusual and as off-putting to maybe some people. Like they're more grounded. But anyways, this was actually a very good video. I can see why people wanted me to watch more of this guy's video. Necrit. Let me give him a subscribe. subscribe, 872k shit. Let me give that a like. It's got I respect it. It was a good video. Thank you, Necrit. Let me know if you want me to watch more of his videos. Let me know if you want to watch. So it's either, do you want me to watch more of Necrit's videos, and if so, which ones? Do you want me to watch more? I plan to watch the Faker Ranker video, Hall of Legends, that's what it's called, and then maybe a few more. But yeah, but any more League of Legends lore or League of Legends videos, and most importantly, League of Legends, or do you want me to, should I play the game? Would you like be interested in me playing the game? Would you be interested in me playing it and posting a video on the channel? Like, and if so, what type of video do you want me to do? Oh yeah, do you want me to stream it? Like, because I like streaming as well. Yo, I stream most of this on Twitch. Come get a gander. Come watch me stream these on Twitch. Like, I be playing recently. I've been playing loads of Marvel Rivals. I don't know if any of you lot have, but I've been playing loads of Marvel Rivals. But yeah, let me know.
2, 1, let's jam.